everyone, this is Karen.
Hi everybody, I'm Shane.
Today we're looking at part 1 of cream puffs.
A history and how to make them.
Ooh, and the vocabulary words are trend.
Trend.
Harold always follows the latest fashion trends.
Tasty.
Tasty.
Meredith cooked us a tasty meal.
Invent.
Invent.
Edgar's grandfather invented a type of camera that is used only in hospitals.
Whip.
Whip.
The cook whipped the potatoes until they were smooth.
Frozen.
Frozen.
Ice cream is a kind of frozen dessert. So we're talking about delicious cream puffs.
Right, a delicious dessert.
That's right. I love cream puffs. Do you like cream puffs?
I like them, but I don't love them.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't love them. I like them.
Is it too sweet? Is it too soft?
They
What is
remind
it?
me too much of cabbage.
Ah, really?
Do you know why I say that?
Is it because
Because
it comes from the French word choux,
Choux,
which means cabbage?
Which means cabbage, because the pastry that they use is called choux pastry, and that means cabbage.
Okay.
Right, in French. So actually, if you make this kind of pastry correctly, when you bake it, there should be left a filling or a gap in the pastry that you can fill with all kinds of delicious things.
Like whipped cream, pudding, or even ice cream.
Yeah, really, just your imagination is the limit.
Yeah, and I heard they're actually really easy to make.
Yes.
Although I have never made them.
I've never made one either. And I don't think I will because I just like them. I don't love them.
Okay, fine. Maybe I will try because I love cream puffs.
Okay, well, let's learn more about the history of cream puffs.
All right, enjoy.
Enjoy.
Cream puffs, a history and how to make them. In recent years, cream puffs have become a global food trend. But did you know that this tasty treat has a long history? Legend has it that cream puffs were invented by royal chefs in the court of Catherine de' Medici, who was Queen of France from 1547 to 1559. By the 1550s, chefs in France and England had come up with the recipe for choux pastry that is still used for making cream puffs today. Hello and welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I'm Kim.
And I feel like some cream. I feel like some puffs.
Put them together and what do you got?
Cream puffs.
There you go. It's that easy. Cream puffs are delicious.
They are. Are you a big dessert fan? Do you have a sweet tooth?
I love cake and chocolate and cookies, all that stuff.
And if you want something a little bit lighter, maybe a cream puff would be the ideal dessert to have. Now, of course, we've seen them on a menu. You might have even tried them in a fancy restaurant or even made your own. I've never done that. But cream puffs apparently have a history. There's a long story behind cream puffs. So we'll be learning about that, and we'll also be learning how to make them. Isn't that cool? But for part 1, for today, we're going to be learning about the history of cream puffs and what a delicious history it is. So let's begin our article. It says, in recent years, cream puffs have become a global food trend. But did you know that this tasty treat has a long history? Oh, yeah. Cream puffs were not just invented in the 1990s by Bill Clinton.
Oh, no?
No. Oh. I thought that, but no, they weren't.
I also thought too. I didn't know they had such a long history.
Long
history.
And
they're very trendy these days. A trend is a new development in the way people behave or the things they like. You can talk about fashion trends in clothes or trends in technology, like different apps that people might use. For example, Harold always follows the latest fashion trends, so he's very fashionable. He wears the latest style of clothing.
That's right. Trendy, the adjective. You could talk about a trendy person follows the trends, or if you're wearing the latest style that everyone's wearing, you might say, hey, that's a trendy jacket or trendy shoes you're wearing. So if you like something in fashion, you might call it trendy. If you like something in your mouth, you might call it tasty. And yes, if something is tasty, that means you like to eat it. You put it in your mouth and your brain goes, yum! It's delicious, it's yummy, it is something you enjoy eating because you think that it tastes good. It's tasty. For example, Meredith cooked us a tasty meal.
Ooh.
It was a delicious meal. It was a yummy meal.
Very delicious. I wonder what she cooked. It sounds good.
How true.
Well, legend has
Yes.
it that cream puffs were invented by royal chefs in the court of Catherine de Medicis, who was Queen of France from 1547 to 1559. And I'm sorry, Catherine, I probably messed up your name.
I think it's de Medici.
De Medici.
She's Italian. She was actually an Italian queen who went and married the King of France. I know this.
How do you know this?
I know this because last month in one of our magazines we talked about the history of ballet. And along with bringing ballet from Italy to France, she apparently brought cream puffs.
Wow, she was busy.
Yeah, so anything good that's French was brought from Italy by Catherine de Medici, apparently. Anyways, but she is credited with inventing, or not she, but royal chefs were credited with inventing cream puffs.
Oh, so she's
but
a very
not ballet.
trendy queen.
Yes,
Huh? Interesting. Well, they invented the cream puff, which is to create something that has never been made before. This is a new type of anything, a new machine, something technologically related, maybe food, can be anything, just something that's never existed before you made it. For example, Edgar's grandfather invented a type of camera that's used only in hospitals. Maybe it's an X-ray camera.
Oh, or that camera that they put down. Ugh, I don't like that camera. All right, but it is an important invention, right? If you think of something, you invent it, and that thing that you make is your invention. That would be the noun form. So there we have these royal chefs making these fancy cream puffs, but only, of course, for kings and queens and fancy people. And then we read, by the 1550s, chefs in France and England had come up with the recipe for choux pastry that is still used for making cream puffs today. Yes, it is a pastry. All right, pastry is something that we think of when we're making pies and bread and other things like that. But there are different types of pastry. There's puff pastry, there's phyllo pastry, there's choux pastry as well. And we'll be learning much more about choux pastry after our little break.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。同学们喜欢吃泡芙吗？它超好吃的。那今天的课程就是要简单介绍奶油泡芙的历史。那么第二天的课程就是要教大家做奶油泡芙哦。好，那我们看到标题里面的 cream puff 就是指奶油泡芙，它是很受欢迎的食物。传说啊，奶油泡芙最早是由凯撒琳德麦蒂奇的宫廷御厨所发明的。那谁是凯撒琳德麦蒂奇呢？她其实是1547年到1559年间的法国皇后。好，那在那时候呢，法国和英国的厨师都想出了这个泡芙酥皮的配方，到现在人们都还有用这样的配方来做奶油泡芙哦。我们先来看3个单字 ，trend。它是名词，用来表达受欢迎或是流行的事物，也可以表达趋势倾向。好，那它的形容词是在后面加上 y 变成 trendy 可以形容是流行的、时髦的。再来看 tasty， 它是形容美味的、可口的。那么 invent 表示发明、创造。它的名词是在后面加上 ion 变成 invention 可以当可数名词表达发明物，也可以当不可数名词来表达发明创造的意思。好，再来看到补充单字 pastry 它可以用来指油酥面团、面糊、酥皮点心的意思。我们文中写到 choux pastry 就是指这个用来做泡芙的那种酥皮面糊。那么 Mike 老师说的 puff pastry 则是指千层酥皮。那么 phyllo pastry 它是指菲乐酥皮，就是一种像纸一样薄的那种酥皮，常用来包馅的。好，那这边还有3个重点。第一个是 legend has it that 怎么样是表达传说怎么样、据说怎么样，其中的名词 legend 固定要用单数哦。那么 it 是虚受词，用来代替后面的 that 子句。举例来说 Legend has it that a fierce dragon once lived in the cave 传说啊，有一只凶猛的龙曾经住在那个洞穴里面。 好，那么第二个重点是关系代名词 who 可以引导关系子句去修饰它前面的先行词，那这个先行词必须是人哦。如果这个先行词它是明确特定的对象，我们就是用非限定用法，意思就是说你不用限定它的范围啦。所以 who 引导的关系子句，我们要用逗号把它跟主要子句隔开，因为它是用来做补充说明用的。举例来说， He enjoys hanging out with David, who is quick-witted and has a good sense of humor. 他很喜欢跟 David 一起出去，这个 David 他幽默机智，反应快。好，那么第三个重点是 come up with 加上名词，是表达想出、提出什么什么。这个片语的主词是人，然后用来表达说想出啊、提出像是某个主意或是某个计划等等。这时候它就跟 think of 加上名词意思一样。例如Mary came up with a brilliant idea to solve the problem. Mary 想出一个很棒的点子来解决问题。好，接话课文中。
Cream puffs, a history and how to make them. Choux means cabbage, a term which perfectly describes the shape of this delicious treat. Choux pastry is quite easy to make. When it is done correctly, it puffs up to create an open space in the center, which can be filled with sweetened whipped cream, pudding, or even ice cream.
And we're back, and let's find out exactly what this choux, like your shoe?
Yeah,
all right.
Basically. Yeah.
Good pronunciation. Choux pastry, exactly what is it and how is it made?
Yeah, all right. So let's read. It says choux means cabbage. Oh, there you go. A little bit of French for you. Choux is actually the same word that French people would use for that vegetable cabbage. Choux means cabbage, a term which perfectly describes the shape of this delicious treat. Ah, interesting. Yeah, it is kind of round.
Oh.
And of course, when you cut choux pastry, you see it has kind of layers as well, kind of like the leaves of a cabbage. Yeah, so there you go. Choux pastry, it says, is quite easy to make. That's good to know because sometimes making pastry can be challenging.
It can.
You have to, beat it and fold it and do all that kind of stuff. But if you want to start with a pastry, maybe this is the one to begin with.
Okay, when it is done correctly, it puffs up to create an open space in the center, which can be filled with sweetened whipped cream, pudding, or even ice cream. Oh, I like this one already.
Wow, that sounds great. So it kind of makes like a ball, right? Almost like a ball you would have, like a tennis ball with a big open space in the middle. And then you can fill it with all sorts of stuff. A simple thing that we use in a lot of desserts would be whipped cream. Now, if you whip something, well, this could actually mean whoosh, whipping an animal or a person like a hero in a Hollywood movie or someone working with lions in a circus, but that kind of whipping is not nice. Don't whip people or animals. But if you're a chef, it's okay to whip things because what you're doing is you're basically beating them really, really hard. You're stirring them maybe with a special kind of piece of equipment, and you're trying to put air into that food. You're trying to make it lighter and fluffier and have it all puffed up. You might beat your eggs, but then you might whip your cream to make it very light and fluffy, like you're putting it on top of a cake or something like that. So it's not okay to beat or whip people or animals, but it's totally okay to beat or whip your food. Yes, beat those potatoes until they say, "No, please, I've had enough," because then they'll be super delicious. For example, the cook whipped the potatoes until they were smooth. Oh,
mashed potatoes are good.
Absolutely. To get the best mashed potatoes, you've got to whip them until they're crying out for mercy. Please, no more. I'm too delicious and smooth. All right, guys, let's take a break and then we'll be back.
刚刚说到这个 choux pastry 就是用来做泡芙的那种酥皮，其中这个 choux 它的意思是卷心菜。你仔细想想看哦，我们把这个奶油泡芙如果把它切开，你就会看到它的酥皮是不是里面很像高丽菜这样一片一片的，有一层一层的形状呢？那么课文就写到说，这种酥皮啊很容易制作。那么做法正确的话，它就会鼓起来，然后中间会形成空隙，里面就可以填入馅料了。像有的是填入这种甜的打发鲜 鲜奶油，有的是填入布丁啊，或是冰淇淋。好，这边有一个单字是 whip，whip 就是搅打，像打蛋打奶油那种打的动作。那么 whipped cream 就是用来表达搅打过、打发过的这个鲜奶油。Mike 老师在解释单字时，他用到 fluffy。Fluffy 可以用来形容它是柔软的、蓬松的。那么单字例句提到，厨师搅打这个马铃薯，他可能就是要做马铃薯泥吧？这时候老师们说的 mashed potatoes 就是指马铃薯泥。这句话课文中。
Cream puffs, a history and how to make them. By the 1800s, cream puffs had become incredibly popular across all social classes. In fact, several different types of choux pastry treats had been developed, including éclairs, filled with custard and topped with chocolate, and profiteroles, a type of cream puff that is often frozen. These days, you can buy cream puffs in bakeries and even supermarkets. But why not try making your own? The recipe is surprisingly simple. All right, so we're whipping cream. We're filling the choux pastry with the whipped cream or with custard or even with ice cream. Already, these desserts are delicious, but remember, this is the history of them, and we still have more things to discover.
Yeah, as we see, by the 1800s, cream puffs had become incredibly popular across all social classes. No wonder they're delicious.
Absolutely. So it wasn't just kings and queens and rich, fancy people. Now you had normal, average people able to enjoy these delicious desserts. And it says, in fact, so this is kind of an even more interesting bit of information on the same idea. In fact, several different types of choux pastry treats had been developed, including éclairs filled with custard and topped with chocolate. Those are kind of long, right? It's kind of long, like a chocolate bar almost shaped.
Like a Subway.
One of my favorite desserts in the world, profiteroles, a type of cream puff that is often frozen. When I was a kid, we were at a hotel, and the waiter, I think it was a waiter, a magical man, and whoever you are, sir, I remember you. He kind of looked at my sister and I and said, I have a dessert for you. And he brought out the profiteroles, these little balls of pastry filled with cream, covered with hot chocolate sauce.
Oh my God.
Oh, they were so good. And yes, inside the cream is often frozen, so you get the kind of the warm and the cold, and oh, it's so good. But so yes,
when they put ice cream on top of a brownie sort of feeling,
exactly like that. Oh, it's so good. But yes, in that case, the cream inside is often frozen.
If something is frozen, that's anything turned cold by freezing. You take something and put it into the freezer or the refrigerator. It turns solid, it turns hard, it turns cold. That you would call frozen. It can be ice or something like our example. Ice cream is a kind of frozen dessert. Yeah, ice cream, the most famous frozen dessert.
Absolutely. Or even if you just put ice in the freezer, you'll have ice cubes. That's just frozen water. That's what ice is. And these days, it says you can buy cream puffs in bakeries and even supermarkets. But why not try making your own?
I might burn the house down, but let's find out how we can make
That
them.
would not be good, but at least you would have a delicious dessert to eat as you watch your house burn.
True.
That's probably not the best plan. But yes, you can make them at home. Why not try it? And then we are told the recipe is surprisingly simple. You might look at a fancy dessert. I kind of think it would be difficult, but no, it's not. It's simple, or it's easy. In fact, it's surprisingly simple. We will be surprised at how easy it is. And if you don't believe us, you guys will have to come back tomorrow, because we won't be making them.
No, don't let me make
We
things.
don't have the equipment here, but we will be talking you guys through the recipe and how to make your very own cream puffs. I can't wait. We'll see you guys then. Until then, take care, be well, and bye-bye.
到了19世纪，奶油泡芙在社会各个阶层都很受欢迎了。 那在那个时候呢，已经有好几种泡芙点心，像是 eclair 闪电泡芙，或是翻译成伊可雷，它是一种填满卡士达，并且上面还淋满这个巧克力酱的泡芙。还有 profiterole， 则是指小的奶油泡芙，它是常常会拿去冷冻一种奶油泡芙。好，那这边有一个单字叫 frozen 就表示冷冻的、结冰的或是冰冻的。好，那么以上是这个讲解，同学们记得收看第2天的课程，跟我们一起做奶油泡芙哦。
Cream puffs, a history and how to make them. In recent years, cream puffs have become a global food trend. But did you know that this tasty treat has a long history? Legend has it that cream puffs were invented by royal chefs in the court of Catherine de Medici, who was Queen of France from 1547 to 1559. By the 1550s, chefs in France and England had come up with the recipe for choux pastry that is still used for making cream puffs today. Choux means cabbage, a term which perfectly describes the shape of this delicious treat. Choux pastry is quite easy to make. When it is done correctly, it puffs up to create an open space in the center, which can be filled with sweetened whipped cream, pudding, or even ice cream. By the 1800s, cream puffs had become incredibly popular across all social classes. In fact, several different types of choux pastry treats had been developed, including eclairs, filled with custard and topped with chocolate, and profiteroles, a type of cream puff that is often frozen. These days, you can buy cream puffs in bakeries and even supermarkets. But why not try making your own? The recipe is surprisingly simple.
Fulong Beach is located in Gongliao District in New Taipei City. It is famous in northern Taiwan for its water recreation. Visitors to the beach enjoy activities like kayaking, windsurfing, surfing, stand-up paddleboarding, SUP, and beach volleyball. Nearby stores rent out all kinds of beach supplies. Also, the Fulong International Sand Sculpture Art Festival is held from April to July. It features incredible sand sculptures that leave people amazed. From July to August, the youth favorite Hohaiyan Gongliao Rock Festival is held. The event lasts 3 days and hosts groups from Taiwan and abroad. Are you looking for a place to beat the heat in the summer? Fulong Beach is one place you have to try out.
See you next time!